collection development budgeting. Today we're going to talk about the basics of budgeting. Of course, the first step is planning and allocation. Planning refers to the use of money available during a fiscal year, and we have to have a plan. An allocation is the amount of money, dollar amounts, distributed to fund lines in the budget. A measure also, it is a measure of the financial commitment to support activities necessary to reach the goals outlined in a plan. Is how we are going to distribute it, the money to fund lines in our budget. That's allocation. Budget basics. Total amount of funds available to meet a library's expenditures over a fixed period of time. That's our budget. And of course, in this class, we're talking about collection management. But the budget in a library takes into consideration services and collections. The budget varies from year to year. It's never static. Ideally, it should be growing from year to year. However, what we have seen in the past is that instead of increasing, it is decreasing. And we cannot explain why unless we take into consideration the economic situation. Moreover, this is not only in the US. This is a situation, it's a worldwide situation. Budgets for libraries are decreasing. Not only in terms of our function or in terms of the context of the class, which is collection management, but in every area of the library. Budget basics. We decide our budget either by the fiscal year, and some examples are from July to June or from October to September, or by the calendar year from January to December. That will change in each library. Budget basics, and this is operating, and here we have how we allocate our budget. For example, and these are only examples, these are guidelines. Every library is different, but in general terms we can say that between 20 and 30% goes for the operating budget. That is ongoing expenses to operate the library. Between 50 to 60% goes to staff salary, and that's personal budget. And from 20 to 30% goes for material budget, collections, budget for collections to acquire new materials or access to electronic resources. Now, who is responsible for the budget? Well, that will depend on the type of library. If it's an academic, school, or public library, it will depend on the size of the library. But normally it would be the head librarian, the director, a library media specialist, or it may be something from the administrative staff who is trained to do budgeting. There are at least 4 budgeting techniques, and of course these are models. In most of places these models are combined, these techniques are combined. The first technique is called zero-based budget. The second one is the program performance budget. The third one is the formula-based budget, and the fourth one is the historical or incremental budget. First one, zero-based budget. It is fresh every year either a calendar or a fiscal year. Each funding request is new, regardless of the previous year. So every year you have a new budget that is not tied to the previous year. The second one is a program and or performance budget. And here the allocations are tied to specific programs and services that of course the library provides. The third type is a formula-based budget. It is based on standards, guidelines, and formulas. And some of the formulas or indicators that we have to establish our budget, if we are following the formula-based budget, are percentage of collection value, per capita circulation, and percentage of parent organization. Another technique is the historical or incremental budget. Here, the budget is tied to the preceding years. It is based on the previous year budget. So the previous year budget serves as a guideline to decide on the new budget, to decide on the allocations of the new budget. Material budget request. Budget request purposes: to request funds and to inform. And two inputs that we may use for our request are part of what we call the environmental scan. And those two inputs or two variables are in the internal conditions and the external conditions. Internal conditions, and this is not a comprehensive list. These are the main ones, but there may be others. Changes, it says chances, no, but it's changes, and let me correct that right now. Changes in user demographics, public, school, and academic. New resources needed to serve diverse communities, again, in every type of library. Declining or increasing enrollment. This has to do with school and public and academic libraries. New academic programs. We are going to offer new programs. Then we have to offer new collections. Collection formats. We have to decide many times if we're going to get printed or electronic materials. Then we have external conditions. Again, these are only some examples. For example, price changes, electronic information, and public access. And this is very important because we have to be aware that through the internet we may have access to some resources that we were previously paying for. And that would mean that if we can get those resources free, we would allocate that money to get either access or to get printed materials. So it is very important to scan the internet to see what it is available. Of course, like with any item of information, we have to be sure that the information that we are providing to our patrons is of good quality. Here I have listed some information sources on external conditions. Again, these are some examples. In terms of collection allocation, these are some of the things that we have to think about. For example, audience and type of materials. For example, audience, service level. We have adult materials, young adult materials, children materials. And then if we go in further detail, we're talking about adult books, adult media, movies, etc. What about in terms of children books or children materials? Are we talking about children's books or games or other type of materials, or videos, etc., movies, etc.? So we have to when we do allocation, we have to try to be as we have to have a lot of detail. Okay, that's what I wanted to say, because it's not only about audience or service level. It is also about being explicit in what we want to spend our money on in terms of type of materials that we want for each audience or and service level. And of course, this will be different in each library, in each type of library, and it will be different in the size of the library and in the community that that our library is serving. So we have to take into consideration also our patrons.